Guys, it's Dan back for Generation Productions. So I want to talk about a theory of mine about how the Star Trek timelines work. Now, because I know I've got a lot of friends of mine that are Star Trek fans on here on YouTube and in the real world, and even I was a bit of a Star Trek fan at once, a major Star Trek fan. You know, I collected the comics, I collected the games, I collected the TV series. Now I've sort of cut all that back. I've sort of now just sort of collecting the games and not the comics anymore. Maybe some of the TV series, but most of all the main stuff has been cut off, like the ships and not ordering. I'm getting Pacific ships now these days. I'm not actually buying like the Eagle Moss series or any of that stuff. But one thing I'd like to talk about is my theory about the timelines. Now, a lot of people, you might disagree with me, but this is just what I believe happened. Basically, what I believe happened here was we had the original Prime timeline with the TOS animated series, the original movies, the TNG, the Next Generation, DS9, the original Next Generation movies, and Voyager. I think that would be the first real actual Prime timeline. That was it. The reason why I say that is because instead of having Star Trek Enterprise and all that stuff, is because if you have a look on those walls, the ship walls in the TNG and TOS, don't think TOS had actually a ship wall, but in the original movies, in the motion picture wall, you never see a picture of the actual first Enterprise, aka the NX-01 class. You never actually see that ship, and yet that's supposed to actually be in the main timeline, but I don't think it's there. Which I believe I know why. Now we cut down to the second Prime timeline. By the way, the other thing about the TNG movies, even the TNG movies didn't have the NX-01 Enterprise on their ship wall either. So it makes me think. So the second Prime timeline. Now this is the one I think everyone sort of agrees with, which was the original. Star Trek Enterprise, TOS, the original animated series, the original movies, the TNG, Next Generation, DS9, and movies, and Void. Now, this is what I reckon what caused this was the issues of first contact, when the Borg and all the people travelled backwards in time. I believe they created the Star Trek Enterprise era, and even if you have a look at the Star Trek Enterprise series, you'll notice that they actually do cover in one of their actual episodes the events of First Contact, with a part of the Borg ship crashing into Antarctica or Arctica. I can't remember where it was, but they had a thing where it crashed into an icy glacier type thing, and they had the scientists go out there and try and actually salvage some of the components from the explode parts of the Borg. And I reckon that's what helped create the Star Trek Enterprise era sort of thing, around that sort of thing, grabbing new technology and stuff like that, and even just altering the timeline because of the time travelling, because every time when some people travel, it somehow alters a timeline. So I reckon, something seems to be still out of place when time travel happens. So I reckon what happened was, from the TNG movies, that First Contact, that created the Star Trek Enterprise series from that time thing. It somehow created the second timeline. Then from that we have the Kelvin timeline that was created, which would be, I reckon, Discovery, Enterprise, JJ movies, the JJ TOS if there was a series of that, and then snapping back into the last remaining series if there was going to be Next Generation, DS9, and Voyager series from the Kelvin timeline, aka the JJ universe. Now, why do I say Discovery and Enterprise? What actually caused that? I believe it was the events of the TNG series, where they also in the game Star Trek Online, you see there was a wormhole thing that opened up and caused, or a black hole opened up and caused the destruction of Romulus. Now, I believe that is what created that's what created the Discovery timeline. Ripped a hole in the universe and created another alternate universe, which is the Discovery timeline. But then that ties into ENT, because Star Trek Enterprise, because basically, if you have a look at one of the JJ movies, you'll notice on one of the actual, I think it was the Office of the Admiral, and I think it was Into Darkness, you actually get to see a little model of the NX-01. So, therefore, the NX-01 is in the Kelvin timeline. So, and also, like I said, Discovery also feels like it's like in the Kelvin timeline, the way the shots are shown and stuff like that. So, I believe that the Discovery, Star Trek Enterprise, is also tied into the JJ universe, if you want to go that way as well. And so is the Next Generation as well, and the Next Generation movies. I reckon they're all tied into the Kelvin timeline somehow. Tied in from the events of the First Contact and when Nero time travelled, causing this alternate timeline. That's how I believe that was created. Then we have the Discovery timeline. Now, this is what I believe is what they call the new Prime timeline, which is basically Discovery, Enterprise, TOS, and the original stuff happened here. Now, what created this timeline, I believe, was a little bit from the events of the time travelling from the Kelvin timeline. The time travelling thing altered the timeline a bit in the main universe, as well as also from that damage of the time travelling from Nero and Picard back in for the first Contact movie, causing disruption, and those two time travelling things caused disruption in the timeline, creating two alternate universes, I believe, led to this one. And I believe this one was created by the time travelling of Discovery. I believe that caused an error in the timeline, which made it to this one, which created the Discovery timeline, which created the new timeline, well, basically the new Prime timeline, which include Discovery and Enterprise, TOS, and all the things creating all up to the Picard series and Lower Decks. So, in a way, I do believe the time travelling of Discovery is what caused the other series to exist, Picard and Lower Decks. So, there's my theory, people. Like I said, I don't know if it's true or not, but that's just where I sort of stand about that. That's what I reckon happened in the Star Trek timeline universe. That's just my theory, and I still stick to it, because basically, if you think about it, in the Prime universe, there was no NX-01 class Enterprise. That thing did not exist. Then you have the next new timeline, which I believe was which was, I believe, the second Prime timeline, which was what I call the... Whoops, sorry, people. The second Prime timeline is what I call the one we all know, which does include the Enterprise NX-01 class, which was included because of the events that happened in First Contact. Then we have the Kelvin timeline, which includes the J.J. Abrams movies, which I believe also does include the Star Trek Enterprise series, and from on. And then we have the final ones, which is Discovery timeline, which actually was like basically the new Prime timeline, which includes, like I said, Discovery, Enterprise, the original series, all that stuff, prior to the Voyager, Picard, and Lower Decks. But I think all those time travelling things has caused a massive rift in the timelines, and that's how come we've got all this crap happening. Now, of course, one could easily say, oh, it's just the writers and it's just the way things turned out. Yeah, sure, fine, you can say that, but I'm just trying to fit it into a local canon of a Star Trek canon of how it could actually work, And that's the way I figure it worked, because of all the time traveling things that happened caused ripples throughout the entire timeline universe. Because Picard travelled backwards in time, it created the NX-01 Enterprise, and because the time travelling rift of Nero created because of Picard travelling that first contact incident, that also created the whole issues with the Romulus exploding, and then from the Romulus exploding, that's what caused Nero to go back in time travel and create a different timeline. And it was because of that timeline, then the new timeline was created for the Discovery and Lower Decks and Picard. So there we go. That's how I think it happened. Please leave a comment below what your thoughts are, people. If you think my theory is plausible or not plausible, let me know what you think. There's no right or wrong answers, and I'm not going to get angry with you if you disagree with me or leave a dislike on this video. But yeah, just so I want to hear what you people think. And okay, catch you all later, people. Bye.